Today, as head of retail at Stylus, I'm going to take you through some of the most important trends, tools, and innovation that will be impacting and influencing digital retail in 2017 and beyond. So to do this, I'm going to transport you across 5 types of tech that each speak to different but equally important emerging consumer mentalities. So number 1, convenience and speed. So this is streamlining, but in the most seductive of manners of only. Number 2, retail and hyperflow. So this is the evolution of omni-channel for the hyper-digitalized people that we're all pretty much slowly becoming. Number 3, ego tech and self-optimization. So that's very much about personalization, but at the next level. Intimacy, empathy, and solidarity, which are just as important as the efficiency-based tools that often hog the limelight. And mixed realities, so things that are kind of the more exploratory, ambient, out of this world, the wilder exploration-based concepts that are forging a link between the physical and the virtual realities that we're moving into. So on to number 1, speed and streamlining. So now that we've hit this kind of see now, buy now era, immediacy has very much become a default expectation for consumers, bringing a sense of speed and streamlining and less hassle to all brands. You know, this really has to be a preoccupation. But it needn't be to a cost of identity or aesthetic values. The aim is really to streamline in some places to allow a lengthier and more satisfying experience in others. So to kick off, we have Zeekit, which is a virtual fit tech app that builds reassurance into the see now, buy now economy that I just mentioned. And it was used by a brand called Rebecca Minkoff that I'm sure you all know at New York Fashion Week in September. So after uploading a photo of yourself, it will overlay a proportionally adjusted image of the chosen outfit onto your own body. And then there's the notion of adding velocity to VR, in this case to give department store shopping a faster edge. So this is an at-home VR shopping experience by eBay and the Australian department store Myer, where users can browse a sort of swirling network of interconnected icons, but purely with their gaze. So it's all done via an app that's connectable to any VR headset. Additionally, it has SightSearch tech that will allow people to view enlarged 3D models of items, often again just with their gaze. And like Zeekit, there's a virtual fit tech tool so you can gauge how you would look in things. Then you've got Alibaba, of course, the mega Chinese e-commerce player that's also working with VR to develop a payment tool. Now, again, this will allow people to buy with just a nod or a lingering stare. So essentially, it's about allowing you to buy without being pulled out of the retail experience. Now, this has been devised especially for its Buy Plus site, which is the VR version of its entire main e-tail site that works in tandem with HTC headsets. And apparently this is due to touch down even at the end of this year, so very, very shortly, hence why, as a man, looking very excited about it. Now, speedy payments are really worth discussing because I think in the rapid retail era, the payment process in store can often feel a little bit anachronistic. It used to be very much an excuse for ceremony, a kind of key part of the achievement of buying, but now it actually often just feels like it's interrupting the brand experience. Now, a tool dealing with this is here FingoPay, which uses Hitachi's ID Vein tech. Now, this is currently under development, but it would potentially allow users to instantly connect to sensitive, personal, cloud-sourced data, including medical data or brand profile information, or, of course, payment details, wherever they are. So this completely rejects the need for cards or apps. That sense of fluidity, of simultaneously being able to access a brand's physical and digital spaces, is also really nicely playing out in these examples. Firstly, the Korean department store Lotte, and also Sephora's Parisian flash store. So in Sephora, you have a hotel keycard style, sort of a hotel keycard, that will let you walk around the store, tapping cards onto screens that will show the items that aren't in the store. Well, of course, you're perusing the physical store at the same time. The physical store only has Sephora's best-selling items, but when you get to the checkout, everything is brought together. Similarly, in Lotte, customers can wander around placing products in a physical basket as usual, of course, or adding them to a digital cart using a very small barcode scanner, meaning that anything that's a real hassle to carry or isn't needed immediately can be delivered later. Interestingly here, if you want to re-edit as you're going along, there are large in-store touch screens called viewer orders that you can kind of check and edit your shopping basket. Wayfinding tools also brilliant in this discussion of speed and streamlining, particularly for multi-brand businesses like department stores, where loads of choice often sounds very good, but it can be simply hugely overwhelming. So there's an app called Ubermarket that's actually been devised specifically for supermarkets, but has sort of transferable applications for all brands and businesses. So what you do is you input what you want to buy. Now this could be a department, a brand, or a particular type of item. You put it into the app, and the app will rearrange it for you according to where you are, helping you to navigate for the nearest and so on. That type of speedy search is, of course, essential to engaging the time-conscious. Now, Net-a-Porter and IBM are plugging into this also with a tool that will hone searching significantly. For instance, you could say, I want things only in extra small, only in shearling, in red, something that can be delivered tomorrow. And as retail definitively splits into two, the kind of let me explore mentality on here you see it in what I would call delegation retail. Now this is eBay's eBay Valet service, where a concierge will take care of the entire reselling of your clothes, accessories, any products really, including answering queries and shipping the package for you. And it does this all just for a 20% commission on the selling price. Now, of course, this is more of a trend to embrace than a tool per se, but it's important to note because of the popularity. The last time I actually looked at this, the demand for the service was so high that eBay was experiencing a 2 to 4 week delay in processing the order. So as you've seen in that last section, adding ease into the mix is a key part of a more fulfilling brand experience, which leads me to number 2, retail in hyperflow. Now, this is about retail that really wraps itself around people's lives, allowing them to start, pause, and pick up the brand experience when they want across multiple touch points. So the idea is that it's effectively as if the shop is never really closed and the conversation is always ongoing. And of course, our mobile devices are central to this as our kind of personal enablers. As Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, says, the smartphone should be considered a remote control for consumers' lives. So geosmart technologies, especially when connected to personal profiles, are central to this sense of hypermobility and will gather huge pace in 2017. This is a really nice example which also shows the importance of localizing, kind of dehomogenizing digital, and it's Swarovski's use of Google's local inventory ads. So it's using these ads to support its Style Finder tool, which is a section on its app dedicated to jewelry styling tips. So when users are looking at an item to the extent that they like it enough to save it, they'll actually be told which local stores have the item in stock, and of course via Google Maps exactly how you would get there. And the ads are already driving a 75% higher click-through rate than Swarovski's standard shopping ads, whilst overall mobile sales have increased by 150%. Department stores, of course, are particularly brilliantly placed to dig into this idea of a wraparound brand strategy because, of course, they have so many strings to their bows in terms of brands, services, promotion, and across digital, physical, online, and, of course, social spaces. So this is a lovely example, and it's Barney's, which uses big data, beacon technology, and what we would call contextual commerce. So if you walk into Barney's store and you have the app, it will send you info according to where you are in store, aware of your past purchasing and browsing patterns, because it can read your profile, including things that have been wishlisted, but also framing that with editorial content that's pulled directly from Barney's own editorialized blog, so it will always feel very fresh and relevant. Sports brands as well are picking up on this very heavily, unsurprisingly because it's a sector, of course, where tech is dedicated to so many other areas of our lives, namely fitness and nutrition. Under Armour, perhaps one of the best to date, doing this extensively with an entire ecosystem of shopper-specific digital touchpoints, ranging from its personal fit tech tools, things like Fitbands, to its shopping app and its stores. And it's so smart that users in store, sales associates can actually go up to them and recommend a kit suited to their individual fitness goals. And then you have this year's reboot of the Nike app, which produces a constant spring of stories, including training tips, product news, and events, based on the numerous things that it knows about the user and their preferences. Now, the reason it can do this is because it's plugged into all of Nike's apps, both the fitness ones, but also the reservations and the e-commerce stuff. The My Store section is the really big commercial sweet spot here, because it's a space for the personal product recommendations derived from all of those other things, plus in-app chats with sales assistants. So, of course, the more it's used, the more the kind of memory gets stronger and the muscle gets stronger, giving Nike a super rich 24-hour-7 view into its audience's lives, not just its shopping world. So that idea of wraparound retail is also very applicable to loyalty, because most loyalty systems were conceived before the social era. Now, this isn't a new example, but it's still one of the best. So it's Liberty Department Store, and they're working with a beacon-enabled app called Tapestry that will bring Instagram into the mix. Again, realising the importance of looking beyond retail to make retail itself super successful. So if you enter the store, users with the app are prompted about brands in store that match those they follow on Instagram via the beacon that's aware of their location. The app will then reveal products, offers, personalised discounts, all of which will be stored as digital barcodes for scanning at the checkout. But it's not just about the mobile device. Retail's physical spaces too are becoming more responsive and versatile to be part of this wraparound landscape. Fitting rooms are key to raising the stakes in this regard, and they're a huge opportunity because they're generally very overlooked. You know, as this statistic says, 50% of shoppers that use fitting rooms go on to purchase nearly 3 or more items than those that don't, and yet only 7% of people say they actually enjoy that experience. Rebecca Minkoff is perhaps the best well known, and still, to be fair, is quite exemplary, but other brands are moving in, such as Polo Ralph Lauren that you can see here. Now, its new Manhattan store has smart mirrors like Minkoff's that can similarly recognise RFID-tagged items, so the screen can visualise the products. In this case, they're even fleshed out in 3D mode on screen, as well as other sizes and colours and recommended products based on the items that you have with you. It then connects to someone's tablet on the shop floor, allowing things to be saved to the consumer's profile. Now, these concepts very much point to the incoming world of the IoT, the Internet of Things, where spaces, devices, systems and products will all be connected. Absolute Vodka is already working on beta products at the moment with an IoT agency called the Sharp End, based in London actually, playing with ideas such as a mood bottle that illuminates with flashes of different colours depending on the cocktail being poured, and then even decides what music is played from the wireless speakers. It's even working on a weight-sensitive connected bottle that alerts nearby delivery drivers when the contents are running low. But how, for instance, would you translate that into fashion? Quite badly with that image, I think. Well, imagine a piece of clothing that represents access to special privileges. So I'm going to show you a film in a second, very briefly, which is about the intelligent Rochambeau jacket that was created with Avery Dennison tagging technology. Now, each jacket has its own software identity connecting to the cloud. So by touching your smartphone on its sleeve, you get real-time, instant access to information about the product, access to things like clubs, galleries, special tasting menus at restaurants. So in short, the item is the thing that actually unlocks a deeper brand-curated experience that can be constantly updated. At the end of the season, this actually even becomes an invite to the catwalk show. Give you a little taste of this. Now, the first thing that I saw when I thought that was, this is great, but couldn't you actually do all of that with a personalised app, bearing in mind that you do have to use your mobile phone to access that stuff anyway? Now, potentially you could, but I think what's really interesting in terms of future innovation is that it acknowledges a distinct difference between those people that are fans of your brand and those who actually have the product, something that's a really big consideration in an era where particularly luxury is really suffering from this sense of ubiquity that comes with digital commerce. Everybody using the same communication channels, the same social channels. So no item, no access, effectively making it like a secret, potentially entirely unique avenue of communication. Another idea that's already coming down the line, consider the possibility of immediate replenishment, or an email to ask you if that's what you like when your favourite T-shirt is wearing out because the tech-integrated fabric knows that it's on its last legs. Better still, that T-shirt would be delivered to exactly where you'll be when you most need it because the T-shirt is fully in sync with your diary. And this really is a major trend for 2017 and beyond. Dr. Amanda Parks, who is an apparel tech expert and MIT scientist, is already probing the idea of apparel as a mobile brand experience. She suggests that you think of your brand as one platform that products transition in and out of, creating a greater sense of conversion between activity online, in adverts, in store, and the products themselves. So number 3, ego tech and self-optimization. So ego tech is essentially personalization, something fairly prevalent in a lot of the previous examples. However, in this series, I'm going to delve into more specifically the tech and the digital channels that are talking to our more narcissistic digital selves. Why would that matter? Well, the reason is the pressure and the confusion of navigating an extremely unsettled cultural climate. Unilever actually refers to this as the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. And then when you add into that mix the complexities of navigating social media, it's not hard to see why for young people, anything that shores up their sense of identity, making them feel more special and unique, will be highly appealing. If we're talking about narcissism, it makes sense to start with beauty and virtual concepts that elevate ourselves. Now, this is a Sephora app concept that's essentially about trying on makeup virtually, and there are a few of these around, but this one also includes a personal tutorial. So it uses technology from a company called Modiface, this is facial recognition tech, to allow users to upload a photo while in conversation with a Sephora virtual artist, and then an AI engine will pick out the most compatible shades and give shoppable recommendations and tips. And then there's this rather wild telebeauty concept by Shiseido and Microsoft Japan, which is a makeup app allowing people to virtually wear makeup looks when making business video conference calls from home. I know. So it's a little bit like playing with the filters on Instagram, and users can adjust the brightness and the colour of their faces, so you can correct your skin texture, you can blur wrinkles, correct shadows, select makeup looks, and even to the extent of selecting the intensity of the makeup look. Now, this, of course, is something that will also become highly transferable to sectors like fashion, in line with developments in virtual fitness tech. Imagine you could actually virtually wear head-to-toe Celine for your Monday morning scrum meeting when you're actually just lounging around in your pyjamas. And then in store tech, this power of ego massaging also has major value. Consider this tech enhanced to the Hilt pop-up shop called Shop With Me. Now, all the shelving here has robotic technology in it, allowing each screen and each shelf to move independently. So anybody that has the Shop With Me app can see the brand's entire in-store and online inventory combined, and they can like items. So when you're passing the walls, the app will send the information to the shelves via beacon tech, triggering those shelves with the products you've liked to actually kind of move towards you. Slightly creepy. Even more creepy, the fitting rooms, fairly extraordinary in this kind of realm of ego massaging. Shoppers here are wandering around the store, scanning the RFID tagged clothes with their phone to pick up the stuff they'd like to try on. But once they're in the fitting room, they will hold the phone to the mirror, which synchronises to the clothes in the room. The shopper will then do a final edit of the clothes, so kind of rather professional, which are brought to the room by sales associates. That idea of the physical store space moving into a new shape to delight individuals is echoed in this example by Revolve Clothing. So this was a showroom in LA earlier this year where a team of personal stylists would use data based on shoppers' algorithms, shoppers' personal profiles, to curate the space to sort of 3 or 4 appointments. So, of course, this isn't something that's applicable to the high street necessarily, but certainly for any brands dealing with VIP customers. Community space is too equally important in terms of nurturing the ego. Now, this is a concept called Blusho. It's an e-marketplace that allows anyone from pro makeup artists to amateurs to take a commission on their work by allowing the top contributors, which basically means anybody that Blusho deems as good enough, into an elite section of the site where they can tag the products used, making everything monetizable. So it's basically a kind of shoppable selfie boutique with elevated status. And there's no reason why this couldn't be translated into fashion by allowing people to buy from self-styling shots. Styling, of course, being a very major topic in terms of consumer fascination, as you can see from this very, very good book here on the left. And that notion of actually trading on the self is incredibly smart. As Dr. Paul Marsden, a consumer psychologist based at London College of Fashion, says, there is now a cultural narrative based so much on the notion of self, selfies, self-help, have it your way, that people are automatically viewing the self as something to be played with. Villoid isn't as advanced as Blusho in terms of allowing people to sell from their own work, but it could be, because it's basically a shoppable fashion network somewhere between Instagram and Pinterest. Now, users create mood boards with their own images and those from affiliate brands to showcase their style. So it's a kind of beacon of themness, a kind of massive spot for self-promotion, and there's a buy button. Now, since this launched about a year ago, it's seen around 10,000 new boards being made every single day, which shows exactly why this has made my innovations cut. The advent of personalised web pages is also a great illustration of ego culture. Saks in the US has got personalised web pages showing product edits selected by personal assistants to suit shoppers' individual predilections, pages that are kept up to date via in-store appointments, a chat tool, or also via email. So according to Saks, shoppers that use these pages spend an average of 50% more than those that don't. Selfridges has just launched something extremely similar, and this also syncs with all their accounts, customers' accounts from shopping bags, that will allow fans to get more immersed in things like fashion runway experiences and other brand experience simulations. So it's a little disembodied at the moment. You can only hear from your friends. There's no kind of ambient interface for you to see them or feel like you're reaching out. But this merger of VR with messaging is an extremely potent mix and another incoming trend for 2017. Communal VR, with physical, not just a sonic elements, I say really is the next visual sort of frontier. Swiss motion capture tech firm Artenim is working with this with its real virtuality VR system that has the game-changing addition of motion tracking technology. So this means that participants would actually be able to see their bodies and physically interact with people and objects in a computer-generated environment. So it's something that has huge commercial possibilities. Consider the prospect of being able to explore a brand environment virtually with a friend or a colleague on the other side of the world. That overall sense of digital wanderlust is echoed in the promise of semi-elastic environments directed by the user. For instance, here you see HTC's Vive headset that has been created with US games developer Valve. Now, this works with joystick-like handsets that trigger lasers to set the parameters of the space. So this maps the space, but it also maps the user. So it will kind of tailor whatever's fed into that in terms of a virtual design to whoever's using it. So it's a concept, again, that may well allow brands to issue store designs or kind of templates that could be browsed remotely, yet physically at the user's will. So you could have any store, fantastical or a replica of a real space, beamed into your front room or your office. So, of course, what most of these stores have in common is the idea of stepping into the internet. Tino Schadler is a technologist and an art director that works with brands, but has also been heavily involved in epic cinematic concepts that merge reality and fantasy, such as Harry Potter. He predicts that Amazon will have a flagship store in VR where you can sit down with Oscar Wilde and he'll tell you about the latest book he's written. And then at the Nike store, perhaps LeBron James will talk to you about his latest shoe before a basketball court will open up and he shoots some hoops. The internet will effectively become three-dimensional. In 5 years, almost every aspect of our life will become infused with VR. Thank you.